The top stories: Central Bank reports slight first quarter growth, and ex-prisoners reportedly being hired for security jobs. Welcome to Nation News for Tuesday, April the 14th, 2015.
No matter where you are in the world, at home or abroad, Nation News keeps you connected with what's happening in Barbados through our website, video newscast, and online e-papers. So stay connected with Nation News. Your news, your time, your way.
It's been another relatively static quarter for the economy. It grew by 0.6% in the first quarter, according to the central bank. In the bank's quarterly review, Governor Delisle Worrell said this was a result of improvements in tourism.
Long-stay arrivals grew by 12% to reach the highest level since 2008, and expenditure is estimated to have risen 6%. Canadian, US, and UK arrivals rose by 28%, 24%, and 9% respectively. Increases in seating capacity were a key factor. There were also improvements in the German and Brazilian markets and a turnaround in the CARICOM market, which rose 8%. The hotel room stock rose by 160 rooms, or about 2.5%, while the average length of stay of visitors dipped by 6%, a reflection of a higher proportion of North American tourists.
Dr. Worrell also reported that international reserves rose by $83 million on the back, of course, of tourism. He was optimistic about the prospects for the rest of the year.
Economic activity is forecast to expand between 1.5 and 2% during the remainder of 2015, principally on the strength of tourism activity and further private sector investment of approximately $700 million. Underlying factors expected to affect tourism's performance are an increase of 3.8% in seating capacity from the US market during the summer period, the additional hotel room capacity mentioned earlier, and the hosting of the England versus West Indies cricket test match.
Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley expects that tourism growth will continue for the remainder of 2015. Speaking to the visiting team from Chum FM of Canada, he said next month's West Indies test match against England will boost arrivals as well as crop over and the incentive campaign known as Brilliant Barbados. The Chum FM audience included some of the 200 Canadians who won trips to Barbados, compliments of the station. Local companies have been told to exercise more care in hiring security staff. The advice has come from Chairman of the Caribbean Association of Security Professionals, Wendell Cumberbatch. He told a media briefing that many organizations do not carry out enough vetting of their security guards, to the extent, he said, that a number of former prisoners are hired for sensitive jobs. He told reporters recruitment should be governed by proper selection standards.
If you look around, you see persons that you know who were in other professions are now wearing security uniforms. And this is being driven by the high level of crime that we are experiencing, as well as the redundancies that have taken place in other professions. So persons think that, well, I was working at, say for example, as a chef, or that's just an example, and there's a security officer position, so let me apply for that. But one of the things that we are focusing on is the recruitment and selection aspect, where we are seeing that because you think that security is an easy job, it has to be mandated by proper standards, and that has a lot to do with one's recruitment and selection policies, and where you need to focus on persons who are properly trained. Mr. Reed alluded to the fact of partnering with TVET Council, where we have standards of industrial security where persons are trained and certified in an area to say, all right, I'm done by training, I'm competent in this area, so therefore I'm ready to be employed.
Now, picture a group of tiny tots and having to control them. Well, early Childhood educators have been brushing up on their classroom management techniques to be able to stimulate and master the little ones. Nation News caught up with Lucille Goddard, the facilitator of a week-long workshop at Earlston College.
Well, I know that Barbadians are becoming aware of the importance of early childhood education and the need to stimulate children from a very early age, because as we know, children's personality and so on are formed during those early years. And during those early years, we want our children to develop a positive disposition towards learning, because you will be aware that children spend almost the whole lifetime in school, from age 3 to maybe 25. So you want, so you want those early years to be rich and stimulating.
A donation of fans and paintings has been made to Ward C12 at the QEH by Barbados Cancer Support Services, whose Vice President Anne-Marie White spoke to Nation News after the presentation.
We help them with a buddy system where you talk to each other or rely on other patients who are going through the same sort of disease that you're going through. And we help your children as well if you do have them, so by providing them with school vouchers, school uniforms. They have picnics, and so we entertain them and encourage them to, think of still going on even though mom or dad is not there.
Up next is Geraldine Edward with the commentary.
You see them almost every day all across Barbados, on major highways and on minor roads. Daredevil motorcyclists showing off their skills. They're often in the wrong places at the wrong time, doing wheelies and stunts and bopping in and out of traffic. Fortunately, the spills have been few, but even where lives have been lost, the bad habits continue. The same thing applies to many motorists with vans, trucks, SUVs, and cars. They are often distracted, driving while texting or chatting away on their mobile phones. All the while, the talk continues about a crackdown on this lawlessness. But what do we get other than talk? We have infringements of the law even by those who should uphold the rules. Little wonder it is all a network of pure confusion. It's time to get tough and enforce the law.
In sport, 28 young cricketers from Tower House School in London are in Barbados to play 3 matches against local schools. Headmaster Greg Evans said this is the second time the school has made the trip, which helps the boys to improve their game.
It's tough. It's really tough. We find that the Barbadian boys are so much more physically developed than the English boys of a similar age, and they play hard cricket, and so we're not really used to that level of intensity. So it does enable our boys to toughen up a bit and then to go home and to raise their game accordingly, hopefully.
Mr. Evans was speaking after the group presented Half Moon Fort Primary School in St. Lucie with cricket equipment during afternoon tea hosted by British High Commissioner Victoria Dean. And finally, police in Ohio in the United States say a 13-year-old student took $25,000 from his grandfather and later started handing out $100 bills to his classmates. Authorities say the student gave out thousands of dollars this week before school officials discovered what was happening. Investigators have recovered about $7,000 so far. Police say they're still trying to figure out how the boy got the money from his 83-year-old grandfather. They say it's too early to know if charges will be filed. And that's Nation News for Tuesday. For more, log on to nationnews.com, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to pick up your Midweek Nation on Wednesday or subscribe to our e-paper.